In the past couple of weeks, since Donald Trump got reelected, we have seen him threaten our allies in a number of ways, whether it be trade wars, tariffs, or even annexation. He's going to put everything on the table to go after our friends, which is pretty terrible foreign policy. But now, the Canadian ambassador to the United States from the Canadian government has hit back against Donald Trump in a wide-ranging interview that she conducted with Politico. So I want to take a look at some of her answers with you today, and let's just waste no time and dive right in. Now, I will say, in this interview, Kirsten Hillman, who is Canada's ambassador to the United States, hits back against Donald Trump in the nicest way possible. It's kind of like a veiled FU to Donald Trump, but of course, she's the ambassador to Canada's largest ally, so she kind of has to be nice, but you can tell in some of her answers that she's not happy with Donald Trump, and I think the Canadian people are not happy with Donald Trump. Politico put out this article tonight saying, never mind those Canadian tariffs, the president-elect is just having fun, quoting her. Downplaying tensions over Trump's tariff threats, Kirsten Hillman, Canada's ambassador to the United States, says the two countries are, quote, siblings. So she's painting a very rosy picture of the United States relationship with Canada that Donald Trump has tried to destroy, and I guess that is her job. But let's take a look at some of these answers. There were a number of questions asked of her, and as I mentioned, it's a wide-ranging interview, but let's specifically focus on the threats that Donald Trump has made toward Canada. And one of the questions the journalist conducting the interview asked, saying, quote, you talked about Donald Trump's irreverent style of communication. After Trudeau's meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago, he put on Truth Social that, quote, no one can answer why we subsidize Canada to the tune of $100 million a year. Makes no sense. Many Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. They would save massively on taxes and military protection. I think it is a great idea, a 51st state. Now, it is important to note that we don't subsidize Canada. We're not giving them $100 million a year. Of course, Donald Trump just made that up. But the question goes on. Then he called Prime Minister Trudeau the governor of the great state of Canada. How do you read those things? Does it feel like he's minimizing you guys as a country? And she responded by saying, I think that the president-elect is having a bit of fun. He started a joke during that dinner and just put it into the context. This was really large. It was over Thanksgiving weekend. There was a lot of socializing. There was a lot of joking back and forth, and that joke got picked up. And I think he's enjoying continuing to run with it because it's getting attention. Now, that to me feels like a bit of an FU to Donald Trump. She's kind of talking about him as if he's a toddler, right? Oh, he's just having a bit of fun, right? It's a joke. There's a lot of joking. He picked that one up, and it's getting him a lot of attention. So I think he's running with the joke. She's kind of like minimizing Donald Trump. And I think that's an accurate description of him in this scenario that, Trump historically and even in the present very much so just loves attention like a child or a toddler does. He loves all the cameras being pointed on him. He loves everybody talking about him. And she knows it. The Prime Minister of Canada know it. We, the American people, know it. And it kind of feels like to me that she's hinting at that personality trait of Donald Trump in this question in, as I mentioned, the nicest way possible. She can't come out and just say explicitly that Donald Trump is a toddler. That would really hurt her job as being the Canadian ambassador to the United States. But that kind of feels like, to me, what she's hinting at. That, he's getting a lot of attention from it. So I think that he's running with this joke and he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying running with this joke because everybody's giving him the attention that he so deserves. And he's having the temper tantrum in the middle of the grocery store, aisle 5, and everybody's saying, oh, we have to attend to Donald Trump, right? That's kind of the vibe I got. But the journalist followed up with another question saying, well, you don't find that disrespectful that he's talking about annexing your country and making you the 51st state? She says, no, it's not. I mean, look, Canada can take it. We have a strong sense of who we are. We can dish it out. We can take it. And at some level, I actually have to say, we often think of Canada and the United States as being like family, like cousins or siblings. And it feels like a bit of sibling ribbing, which comes with a bit of tinge of pointedness, but ultimately is an expression of comfort in the relationship. So I don't find it insulting. Now, once again, that's a very mature and sophisticated way to put it. But I think the first line is kind of the most important here, saying, look, I mean, Canada, we can take it. We have a sense of who we are. So she had the opportunity to kind of back down and say, well, it's this or that or whatever. If Donald Trump wants to do something like that, we can talk about it. She didn't back down. She says, no, 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 we are Canada. We can take this. And if Donald Trump wants to joke about it, he can do that. We're not going to be intimidated. So once again, it's kind of that subtle, very kind, very diplomatic way of saying, we understand who Donald Trump is. We're not worried about it. We're not thinking about it too much. We have bigger issues than Donald Trump either joking or maybe in a serious way talking about annexing Canada. We have bigger things to address. This is more important in our view, and we're going to move on. And look at, again, I think that she's kind of once again hinting at Donald Trump being a little bit of a child with saying it's kind of like a sibling relationship, like your little brother or sister or whoever is kind of annoying you. They just keep poking at you just to get your attention. And she's kind of hinting at that again, calling it sibling ribbing, and comes with a bit of a tinge and pointedness and whatnot. So, again, just a very diplomatic way to give Donald Trump the message that, hey, we see what you're doing. We're not going to play into it. Because that's all Donald Trump wants. He wants them to give him the big reaction and whatnot. But they're not doing it. That the ambassador is not, and neither is Prime Minister Trudeau. And another question I want to show you kind of touches on the same theme, saying what it sounds like to me, the journalist asked, is that during the first Trump administration, his tweets often came off as cause for alarm. But now you're used to it because, like you said, it's just ribbing. So what you and other leaders seem to want to do at this time around is dig underneath the message and dig underneath the joke and find out what Trump is actually trying to get out. Now, that's a really good question, another really great way to phrase it, but it's also very concerning that journalists even have to ask important people in allied governments this question, saying like, Trump's tweets are cause for alarm, and that you're tasked with kind of digging underneath to find the underlying message of which he's trying to get at. It's just, it's a reflection of American politics that this is even a question being asked of our allies. But she responded by saying, yeah, and as I say, he's a leader who has very distinct goals and very clear priorities. I've been here in D.C. for 7 years. I've been leading the embassy here for 5, and we've learned a lot about who he is. So we understand his political and policy convictions much better. We also understand him as a person. So that paragraph, again, very subtle FU, but a little bit of a nicer tone here. People might find this surprising, but Prime Minister Trudeau and Donald Trump have a level of congeniality between them that maybe isn't so obvious to outsiders, but they enjoy talking about politics. They enjoy talking about their families. They enjoy talking about sort of the world stage and what's going on out there. They're 2 G7 world leaders, right? There's a lot they can talk about, and they've known each other for a long time, and I think that's a big advantage to both of our countries. So diplomatic, so professionally put. If only, Republican leaders could speak like this instead of folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Donald Trump, who talk about, Hannibal Lecter, for example, in the context of American politics. But again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It really just feels like, this ambassador understands who Trump is, that Canada understands who he is, and that they understand he's no typical leader. He's no professional in politics. He's kind of somebody that you have to play into his ego, and when you do that, you can kind of get what you want, right? And saying we've learned a lot about who he is. We understand him. We understand him as a person a lot better as well. They kind of know that Donald Trump is immature at his core, right? That he doesn't take the job of the presidency seriously, so they have to navigate him differently because, President Obama, when you're dealing with someone like President Obama or President Biden, these are really serious people. They care about this country. They serve it to the best of their ability. Whereas Trump is just kind of saying, let's see what happens today. Let's go make fun of the Canadians. Let's go do this. Let's just make the entire planet our playground. And then I find it, amusing that she follows it up with a diplomatic answer of, well, Donald Trump and Trudeau, they're friends and, they're best buds and they talk about their families and politics and whatnot, have to preserve the relationship. I totally respect that. Totally understand why the ambassador is kind of adding that in there just to make sure the relationship is preserved, that it's not too much of a slap in the face to Donald Trump. But that's my vibe I'm getting from this, that in a very kind way, you can kind of read between the lines of saying, yeah, Trump is a child and we see the jokes he's making. We understand that he's just doing it for attention. We're not worried. We're Canadians. We're strong. We'll stand up to it. So these are just a couple examples of how the ambassador throughout this interview really gave it to Donald Trump in in, as I mentioned, a very nice way. So I thought those answers were really interesting. It doesn't seem like Canada is going to be pushed over by Donald Trump as he wants them to be. And they're not really falling for his traps that he's setting to get their attention and have them go up in arms and, bow down to him, I suppose, as many of the Republican leaders have. So great interview, great answers. And I just wanted to show those to you because I thought they were fascinating, that this is the approach that, world leaders are taking to Donald Trump, which is, the flattery, but also the little, God, we hate this guy. I can't believe we have to deal with him. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing these answers. I really love that Politico article. I will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It really helps the channel. It goes an incredibly long way. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all of this stuff. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.